So welcome everybody. Welcome to our first webcast on the guidance course. And just in this moment, we are relaxing a little bit and taking a breath and grounding into this space, into this moment and this group before we commence. And before we commence, I'd like to stop. So we're gonna take a moment to stop. Before we start, we're going to stop. And we'll do this probably at the beginning of each call that we come to. And interestingly enough, this itself is a really good place to start when it comes to guidance as well. So we're going to take a deep breath and drop into mind. Drop into the lake within that may have very choppy water or may have very still water. It matters not. We're going to drop into that lake, the simple instruction to stop. Just for a moment, just to interrupt the flow of mind, the habit of mind to think, to move, to do, to stop. If only for the briefest of moments to stop. If only for a moment before a breath. To stop so that what comes next, so that this offering, this meeting, this gathering, this course can flow from that place from within. We're not moving from a busyness. We're not moving from an obligation or a necessity. We're moving from a quieter place. So this is an invitation, and it's also an intention. It's an invitation for all of us to stop, and it's an intention to move from this place, or at least try to move from this place within mind throughout our time together today and through this whole course. Now let us take some deep breath and relax the body. And we're going to look at some very simple agreements that we come into as we journey together. One of those agreements is that we're going to respect each other and the space. We're going to support one another and encourage one another. Hold space for one another. Bring curiosity for one another. And try to lift each other up in this space. But these are some agreements that we're going to come into. What this space is not for is for teaching and judging or advising one another without receiving mandate and permission, or for elevating or putting each other down in any way. So if everyone agrees to these simple premises, I will accept your silence. As a, if you don't agree, if you really don't agree with that, then please let me know. Please raise a hand and express your discontent. There is space for that too, and your discontent is welcome here as much as your contentedness. That's another agreement in this space. Thank you. So let's take a few more moments to really drop in and relax. Let the breath come right down in the body. See if you can get the breath to energetically move all the way through the body into the deep belly, the pelvis, the root of your being. Bringing a focus of awareness down with the breath, down, 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 sinking. Not just the breath, but awareness. And letting that awareness pull down through the body and the mind, your thinking and thoughts. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Bringing the awareness right down to the root, right down to the very base of your body. Letting the breath join with that awareness, and letting the mind sink down, the thinking and the thoughts. Clearing the decks, opening up space. Before we begin, this simple process is very much a part of what we'll be practicing this week and indeed next week as well. This is a part of our meditative practice of clearing space inside, of allowing thought to sink, of connecting with the root and sinking our energy down. So already we've begun our journey into guidance. And some very key qualities that we are exploring even now. Slowing everything down. Slowing the breath down. And we're going to keep coming back to this because it takes practice. We're going to keep coming back to this idea of sinking the mind. This is an old Taoist practice of meditation, to sink the mind. The Taoists would have a visualization whereby you take a sack and put your thoughts within the sack and tie it and place a weight upon a chain on the sack and let it sink down into the earth, deep, deep down, taking the mind and the thoughts deep into the earth. Grounding the mind, sinking the thoughts and the thinking. Just that, just the thoughts, just the thinking. So from a practical perspective, this is phase one. This is the beginning of guidance. And it's probably the most important. No, it is the most important. There's no probably about it. This is the most important phase. And there's a very distinct reason for that. And when we start looking at what guidance is, we really need to explore the system of our own mind. Because mind is extraordinary, powerful, complex, a little bit slippery. Not necessarily always sincere. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So this little mini workshop today, we've got 2 hours together. And we're going to explore a little bit the teaching around mind and around some of the constructs, a way of looking at mind that can help us to understand where our thoughts are coming from and what is motivating them. And we're going to do that with an intention to get to know the mind a little bit better, to get to know our mind and our system of mind, because this is essential when it comes to receiving guidance. And I want to put this in here right away. I want to say this as well. I think an intention for this course for myself and all of us when it comes to guidance would be to step closer to receiving clear guidance some of the time. Right? Because I think that to hold this image of getting clear guidance all the time is it's a very high bar. And it's a deep, deep, profound journey. And I think that there's something about giving permission for us to play and explore within the field of mind in the understanding, right, that we're going to get it wrong. We're going to, at times, be listening to a part of mind that is grounded in fear. And that's okay, because that's what we do most of the time anyway. Right? That's what's happening. So maybe what would be helpful now is to define what we want from guidance. If we say that there are parts in our mind that are grounded in fear, that may well give us guidance that is coming from that place of fear, then what we may well be looking for is a movement of guidance within mind that comes from a part or an aspect of our being that is grounded in love, that is connected to source, that has a far greater expanded connectivity and perspective than our little parts. Because if we want to make decisions, it's far better to make that decision from a place that has a broader perspective and understanding, that has access to more information. And that aspect of self that has that, we could call self with a capital S, we could call it soul, we could call it Christ, we could call it whatever you want. There's no problem at all. Whatever works for you. So there's a distinction here that we're making. There's a distinction here between receiving guidance, and this is generally what we mean, I think, when we say guidance, is information or assistance in coming to decision that's coming from a place that's grounded in love and has access to a broader perspective of understanding than other parts that are grounded in fear or shame or guilt, that are contracted away into a more myopic perspective of world, self, and the whole. Does that make sense? Yeah? Good. Any questions so far? Any questions so far, just before we carry on? No. Perfect. Good, good, good. So if we have this distinction, this is guidance, and this is guidance that is coming from this place that essentially is going to have a much smaller perspective and a self-interest that doesn't serve the whole self and the whole picture. So we have within the construct of our mind these different aspects. And these little ones who would have their own perspective coming from fear are generally numerous. All right. I think this is a really important distinction to make. In a lot of spiritual and psychological perspectives, we talk about the ego. We talk about, the small self, the lower self, whatever you want to call it, as if it's a singularity, as if there's one aspect that's moving. And what I want to express is that this is a multiplicity. Like the mind, our mind is a multiplicity. Now, is there anyone here who experiences their mind as a singularity? Is there anyone here who experiences their mind as just one being one thing? Aspen, is that you? No. So there's a multiplicity happening within mind. And very often we, as consciousness, we are the consciousness, we are the awareness of this. We drift through the multiplicity of mind. We can have one part that's going to be reactive towards something, and another part that's going to be angry at the reactive part, and then there's going to be another part that says we must hide from the angry part and the reactive part, or there's another part that says that we've got to behave in this way, and we end up with this field of complexity, polarity, conflict, the inner dynamics of being a mind on earth are extraordinary and almost unlimited in the ways in which we can interact just with our what we would call little selves, or self with a small s. I know that's my experience, and it's the experience I know of many people that I work with. It's also an experience that's expressed through a field of psychotherapy called internal family systems. So this is not a new idea. It's been around for a long time, and it's not my idea, but it's an idea that I've really absorbed and speaks very clearly to my own experience. And I wonder if can people relate to this? Does this make sense? When we talk about a multiplicity of parts within self, within mind, that have different agendas, different approaches. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Excellent. So what does this have to do with guidance? Well, of course, every little part, and there can be many of them, they have their own myopic perspective. And each perspective, in a way, I like to call it a world. It's like every single part has its own world. Okay. And it's often very contracted and small. And yet that world is everything to this part. It is everything. And there can be other parts within what might be the constellation of that world as well. So that world may be made up of 4 or 5 parts. And then there's another world over here that we can inhabit at different times as well. And within each world, within each core structure these are personality structures, essentially. Within every core structure of personality, there's going to be a perspective. And that perspective is always going to be around certain energies. And the frequencies that sit at the heart of all of these things is security, safety, approval. The list goes on. Survival. These are the main ones, right? These are the main core aspects of the egoic self that believes that it's separate from God, that this is what needs to be fulfilled and satisfied. And the way to fulfill that and satisfy that is to get things from the world. The way to do that is, I can just get enough money, then I will feel safe, But ironically, when you get lots and lots of money, generally you fall into fear of losing it and you don't feel safe. If you don't have money, you fear not having enough and lack and starvation or destitution, etc. So the part will always manage to fulfill its sense of fear, regardless of what the world provides, because those things in the world are always only ever going to be temporary. The reason I bring all this up is because these parts have a perspective that they want to share. And they would love to take over leadership of the whole system in order to secure what they feel like they need. So when we look at systems of guidance within the mind, it's like, well, I want to tune into this issue. Hypothetically, I don't know. Should I move to the left or should I move to the right? Okay. Should I move to the left? Well, there's going to be a part that has some kind of invested fear around me moving to the left. And that part is going to be vocal. And when I tune into guidance, if I'm not aware or if I'm not in allowance, if I'm in denial and suppression of that part, because there's another part over here that's going, we can't listen to that part because it's just going to trip us up, then that part is going to affect and influence the guidance that I receive. So this is the importance of getting to know the system of self, the importance of getting to know the system of mind, so that we can begin to identify, I know that voice from within. And I'm also aware of this movement of suppression that comes over that wants to deny that. And when we suppress it, it actually operates even more effectively from the unconscious, affecting the movement of guidance from within. All right, let's take a breath. There's a lot of information here straight off the bat. We're getting involved in a lot of words. So I just want to invite us to come back to the breath. And if there are any questions, if there's any clarification that's needed, if there's anything that doesn't make sense, then I'd love to hear from you. And if you don't want to speak, you can write in the chat box. We're coming back to the breath, just allowing the energy to sink again. So we're really talking about the structure of mind, the structure of personality in mind, and these little parts. Now, what this course is for is to find a way to get to know some of these parts and to offer us a way to step outside of them into a clearer space. What this course is not is a course of psychotherapy in which we're going to be processing with those parts to create some kind of systemic change in the system. That would be a different course. This course is aligned with moving into a space within mind in which we can begin to feel, and that's the really important question, we begin to feel the nature of guidance that's aligned with love in our system, or aligned with truth in our system. And that truth we're going to call self with a capital S in this course. Okay, so for the little ones, we'll call them parts or little selves. And for that one that we're moving towards to receive clear guidance, we're going to call that self with a capital S. Okay. Hi, Maria. Hello.
Hi, I
Hi.
don't know if I will be able to stay long because I'm in the middle of something, but I just wanted to see if I could join a little bit.
Okay, thank you. There'll be a recording available tomorrow, Maria. So,
Oh, excellent.
okay. Oh, all right. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at a simple practice that we've already tapped into, the practice of syncing the mind. And we're going to break up into pairs. And we'll have a few questions to answer as well in pairs, just to begin to explore where some of these parts might be in mind, what they might be up to, how they might want to be communicating. So that's the flow of things from here. We're going to take a breath again and come back into a groundedness. And notice in your system just what's happening right now. As we've been talking about the different parts and we've been talking about these definitions of guidance. And we've also been talking about how these different parts may be influencing or affecting decisions and judgments in our mind. Just notice as you breathe deeply what's occurring, what's happening in the body. Is there tension? Is there contraction? Sensation? Pain or pleasantness? And what's happening right now? We're listening to this voice talking about guidance. We're not moving towards asking questions within the system or looking for guidance. We're just breathing and noticing. And just get a take on what's happening. Get really curious about the experience of the body, the emotions, of sensation. Very often when we begin looking for guidance, we're already in a space of emotional activation. Very often there can be physical, mental, or emotional discomfort that's occurring. Very often we're asking for guidance because we want help to navigate the difficulty of where we find ourselves in that moment. And we're looking for solution or assistance. Ironically, and with some difficulty, that's often the space that our little parts are the most active and have taken charge of the system, have flooded the system emotionally and mentally with thought and ideas. And these parts have a vibrational quality. They have a vibrational tone to them. And we enter into that vibrational tone. When we enter into the vibrational tone of the constellation of parts that is most active and most empowered, we become that. We identify with that and have that experience. And we become that vibrational tone. Let's say a part has a vibrational tone of fear and panic. And that part rises up. And that part feels very lost and desolate. And it draws us into it. We get pulled into it and we go. We allow ourselves as consciousness to be drawn into that sphere of experience, that vibrational plane of those parts. And we experience ourselves as that. And then from that place, in a sense of desperation, we try to connect with love. We try to move consciousness that is suffused with these vibrational qualities. We try to move consciousness towards love and to receive guidance. There's a complete mismatch of energy occurring here. There is a vibrational discord. And this sits at the heart of why most of the time guidance is either impossible to connect with, or when it's received, it's not trusted. The reason that it's not connected with is because we are in a vibrational tone quality that is not aligned with the level of beingness that we would associate with truth. And it's not trusted if it does come for the same reason that in some way we know that we have left ourselves open to receiving guidance from fear, because that's what we are then embodying. So the first movement, the first initiation in this guidance is to breathe. Very often, the first thing that mind wants to do is ask the question. How do I? Why am I? What happens now? Is this the right thing? The first thing, the mind wants to ask the question. And actually, the question has to come at the end. And that's why we're going to spend a couple of weeks really looking at creating the space in which guidance can arise in a way that we can learn to trust, as opposed to simply asking the questions and hoping for the best, and then not trusting generally what arises. So the first thing is to breathe. There's this whole perspective on the nervous system called the polyvagal theory, which is based on the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs pretty much from the ear on either side of the body all the way down. It connects into the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, the genitals. It's extraordinary, this nerve. It governs our breathing in the autonomic nervous system. It's why when we're stressed or in fear, the breath comes up into the chest. It's short and sharp. We're ready for action. This is the initiation of the fight or flight response. This is a part of what's called sympathetic arousal. And sympathetic arousal is that state in which parts are supremely active. We're busy inside and we are demonstrating fear. One of the most effective ways to change or to assist change in the polyvagal theory, in the nervous system, is by consciously taking control of the breath. If you were to sit here and breathe like this for 10 minutes, you would generate anxiety. Fear would come up. You would catalyze lots of energy from within your system. But you would be hacking your vagus nerve to inform the brain that you are under threat. So the breath is an incredibly important tool in learning to regulate our system as a whole. Not just in moments of crisis, but in every moment. And if we come to breathe through the nose in a deep, relaxed way into the belly, we're sending a signal via the vagus nerve to the brain that says, I must be safe. Everything must be okay, because why would the body be breathing like this? So we're kind of playing a little trick on our brain that allows us to feel calmer. And that's why this is the first step in receiving guidance. So breath first from the Way of Mastery pathway, which is something I'm very, very much involved with. We say the breath is first, the mind is last, and the heart and feeling is in between. So the breath comes first, and it's absolutely essential in learning to regulate and relax the whole system of mind. All of our parts, the whole body, the nervous system, our emotionality. Breathing, simple as that. So, so simple. So that's the first movement. And again, it's going to take practice to interrupt the mind that wants to come in with the question. It's like, great, I've done the breathing. Now I can ask my question. It's like, well, you can, of course. But this course is about getting clearer and clearer and clearer around what our guidance truly feels like when it comes from the place of love. So the breath is first. The next movement is going to be this grounding meditation of the mind. And this whole process requires us to slow down. When it comes to receiving clear guidance, urgency is our greatest enemy, right? Because urgency is going to be coming from those parts that are in fear. That one that we can trust with guidance is not rushed and does not rush. So we start to align ourselves with that frequency by breathing, relaxing, grounding the mind, and not rushing. So what we're doing is we're slowly moving ourselves over from these parts that live in fear. So we breathe deeply into the belly. We relax the body. Send a message through words to the brain. You know what? I'm safe. There might be all this stuff going on. There might be all this stuff going on, but I'm safe. Hi, you must be Meredith. Hi. I can't hear you because you're muted. That's absolutely fine. We've covered a lot of ground, but it's all going to be in the recording for you. Okay. You're very welcome here. So we're going through a process of slowing down, essentially. We're noticing how the mind and parts within our mind often try to seek guidance very quickly. And often the way in which we seek guidance, certainly the way in which I seek guidance, is to ask the question as quickly as possible. So I need to know. I need the answer to this. And actually, there's a process, and we're talking about just pausing on the question and leaving that till last, coming back to the breath, breathing deeply into the belly, relaxing. So the invitation now is to carry on breathing deeply into the belly, relaxing, sinking the mind. Letting the thoughts and the thinking within the mind sink down. Grounding the mind. So these are the first 3 stages of our meditative practice. And I will write these down and put them in the WhatsApp group and the Facebook group so that we all have access to them. The next part of this is something called unblending. So the parts in mind that would see with fear, that call to us and pull us in to their sphere of experience, into their world that we then become through identification. We can release that identification through a process of unblending. And there's many ways of doing that, but for the purpose of this course and the purpose of our practice, we're simply going to set the intention to step out of those parts. We're setting up the space in mind simply to experience the space in mind at this time. We're not looking for guidance. We're not looking for anything other than the experience of having even a glimmer of space, even half a second of stillness. Even acknowledging the tiniest possibility of quiet. So this is a 4-step process that we are going to practice. We are practicing, and that I invite us all into the practice of more and more this week as the foundation of us creating some space to receive, hear, and more importantly, to feel guidance in whatever form that comes. Is there any questions at this point in time about this? So just to summarize, mind is complicated. It is, there's a lot of parts, and those parts have their own agendas. And they come from a very limited perspective. And they're generally fearful. And they want our attention. And they want to draw us in to them. And they would offer their guidance all the time. But they're not who we are. The thoughts in our mind are not who we are. The thinking about ourselves or the world or others, that's not who we are. These are our parts. And they are the way they are because they've lost contact with love. And very often when we seek for guidance, we seek for guidance from a place of being vibrationally blended with those parts. And when we're blended with fear, we cannot hear from love. We cannot hear the truth of love for ourselves. So there is a requirement in hearing and receiving guidance to stop, breathe, relax, ground, unblend from our parts, open space in which we can receive. And we are receiving from nothing more or less than our self in connection with the truth, the love that we are. We're going to have a short break. And when we come back, we're going to move into breakout rooms in pairs, and we'll have a couple of simple questions. And the questions are this: what topic or topics would I most like to receive guidance about? I'll put them in the chat box. You don't need to copy these down. It's nice to have them in awareness. How do I feel about these subjects or this subject or these subjects? And what outcome do I want? So we're going to just start exploring what we might like to receive guidance about and how we feel about those subjects. Like what happens in the system? And the invitation is to notice what arises in the system of body and mind. When we explore and we share, it's like, oh my God, yeah, I'd like to receive guidance around money. I'd like to receive guidance around money because, I'm experiencing some lack and it's uncomfortable. How do I feel about this subject, these subjects? Well, I feel kind of a little bit stuck and fearful. Also there's like this strong desire. And what outcome do I want? Well, I want more money, right? I want more money. What arises in the system of mind and body? Well, it's actually it feels like there's a lot of movement in mind, and I can feel some conflicting parts. There's like movement and then judgment and confliction. And it's like, okay, all right. So if this is all happening in my mind and I want to receive clear guidance, I need to be aware of this. I need to be aware of how those parts would even now try to reach up the back of my neck and pull me into their perspective and version of what is. And when I can be aware of it, I can allow the countering of that. So, okay, I hear you, I see you, thank you. I choose to be in a clearer space. All right, so that's the exploration we're going to have just to begin to get to know the system of your own mind and body and what happens when we start introducing these ideas and questions. Okay. All right, let's come back at 10 past. All right, see you soon. Welcome back, everybody. We'll give everyone a chance to come back before we open up our rooms, and take a little bit of time to share with each other. So the questions are in the chat box. If everyone can just make sure they have access to their chat box and can see the questions, they should follow you into your breakout room. And then you'll be able to support one another, maybe by reading those questions out. Maybe when you get in the room, just have a little conversation about who's going to go first. And then from there, whoever is answering the questions first, the other person could read them out to them. And I encourage you to take a moment and a breath to relax and, just allow that answer to come from within. And yeah, really take the chance to notice what happens in the system when we start talking about guidance and what guidance we might want and how that feels. Is everyone clear with this? Any questions, any doubts, any confusion? Any confusion about this process, not just general confusion. We could be here for some time with that. All right. Okay. I'm going to open the rooms. You got like 4 minutes each, 4 minutes each way. So it'll be 8 minutes all around, 4 minutes each way. And then I'll close the rooms down and you'll see, you'll be given like a minute to finish up. And if you finish before time, feel free just to close your own room down and you can come back to the main room. Welcome back, everybody, from your explorations. I wonder if there's a brave soul amongst you all who would feel comfortable enough, safe enough to share with the group about that exploration and about what arose for you. And I really get it can be tough in a brand new group when we're just meeting for the first time to get vulnerable. I know that. Chris, thank you.
Yeah, James Short and I met in a breakout group, and the first thing was, meeting somebody new and have to interact with them. There was that, yeah.
Yeah,
But we got comfortable with each other right away.
good.
Um, a little embarrassed sharing, what I'm in here for, but once I started talking about it, then I got much more confident about it and excuse me, and clear about it. My ordinary connection to my guidance has been pretty good, and it definitely can use some improvement, and so I'm looking forward to that. But my main goal here has been in how I try and make money in my trading. And, I've been struggling with that lately. So I'm looking forward to creating a clearer guidance on that.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate the intention that you're bringing. There's a real clarity to what you want to use and utilize the guidance for. I think that can be really beautiful. I'm curious because um, that can be a beautiful thing to have that intention, and at the same time having that, we might call it an attachment to an outcome, right? Can be counterproductive to the clarity of guidance. And I'm curious how you feel like when you look at what you want to use this for, and having such a clear kind of benchmark, it's like, yeah, I can measure, right, how this is going with this graph. You know?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wonder how that feels in the body. Like, how does that feel in the body for you? Like, and in the mind, to have this, this movement. How does it feel when you kind of look at this movement of guidance to create money?
I feel fine with it. And I'm, in the nicest possible way, I'm kind of fed up with everybody telling me that I need to be open to, it not happening, or, that that's all well and good, but, you need to be open to other things about it. I do have a specific goal with this. And yeah, I'm here to primarily clear that path and strengthen that. But I know it's going to have, it's going to bleed off into other areas of my life, and I look forward to that. And it may even take me in a different direction out of trading. And if it does that, that's fine. I want that to be clear. But my primary consideration is to strengthen this muscle of this thing that I am doing to earn a daily income.
I love it. I mean, I completely support that, Chris. I really do. And I want to clarify the reason for my question. And the reason for my question is that those parts, sometimes those parts, right, the parts in mind that then are very attached to an outcome will interfere, will come in, try to usurp, try to have their perspective because they think they know, right? And that's a part of this course, is to bring awareness to those attachments, because it's often those attachments that generate the that leaning of parts to say, okay, yeah, I know what I need to do, as opposed to allowing just that openness of the flow of desire. So this is why I'm asking us to get in touch with the feeling, not because, what we're wanting is wrong, but because what we're wanting can be steering the mind in a way that isn't allowing the true guidance to be received, even though the intention is
Yeah.
the same. Want to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. I want to make
I
money.
feel like I'm understanding what you're saying, and not to be flip, but this isn't my first rodeo. I've been trying to get a hold of my parts and get them in line and working together for a long time. And I don't think I've really I guess I've made some progress. We make progress as we go through life. But the overriding sense of me is that I am so fucking tired of my parts. you know, um, it's like diet. It's like diet. The paleo, the vegan, the this, the that, and that. It's just I'm so tired of that shit. I'm just going to eat something that makes me feel good in the moment and try and follow my guidance on what I should eat next.
All
And
right.
that's how I'm looking at this. Try and follow my guidance on what to do next, because I know my desire of what I want is broad, and it is good. Be a better person, be more in line, be more, at peace, that kind of thing. There's going to be things I'm going to want to do along the way, but I'm tired of trying to herd these cats. I'm just going to do like this thing. And I think it'll take me to another better place, and I'm just not going to, my parts are going to fuck with me, beyond belief along the way. And that's just the way it is. So push me, pull me, do whatever the hell you want, parts, I'm not speaking to you so much. And let's do it. Let's get on with it.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks for that.
And I'm sorry if I was disruptive.
No, no, no.
I'm just...
There's something, there's something lovely about your share. It's very raw and very honest, and I can totally relate. Right. And I'm not gonna involve myself in therapizing or getting involved with your parts in this course, because it's not really what this course is about. However,
Right.
it is about bringing a light to the way in which our parts might be steering mind in terms of what we can receive from a spacious, open, compassionate, loving place. And that's really what I want to invite us into. And next week, we're
Yeah.
going to spend a little bit of time just welcoming love into the system to be with our parts. Just in a very broad, general sense, just opening the system through the meditation to inviting love to come and love us. Hopefully through this course and through this process, as I said, the goal really is to get a little bit closer to receiving some clear guidance some of the time, as opposed to being in this perfectly aligned space. But I loved your
And I
share.
look forward to that.
Yeah.
I look forward to that. My parts are like kids, you love them, and sometimes you just want to slap them around.
Well, yeah, I can totally relate to that. And of course, there is always the possibility that that's another part that wants to slap them around. But,
It's never ending.
that is the journey we're on until we're not, So thanks, Chris. I really enjoyed your share and appreciate your input there. And I dare say we can all relate to having that kind of relationship within our own system, with the journey, with our parts, with teaching, with courses, with all of this. So, I think you speak to something that's quite universal there. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to share about their experience? Aspen. Saw your hand go up, Meredith. We'll come to you in a minute. Can you unmute, Aspen? I can invite you to unmute.
There we go. Now, am I good?
You're good.
And Meredith, I partnered up with Meredith. She's lovely. Thank you so much. That was great. I kind of had a hard time with my technology because I couldn't get the stupid questions up. But Meredith read them to me, and so that kind of took a little bit of our time away trying to figure that out. But I just am really struggling with listening to what is the voice of spirit and what's the voice of all these crazy little parts that are trying to run me down a rabbit hole. I couldn't really come up with one thing, except I could just say that family and relationships I'm really struggling with those. Everything else too. I mean, I got money, all that stuff. Everything's a big old mess right now, but mostly it's just a lot of emotional upheaval and sensitivity, and really dealing with a lot of codependency issues. I'm lost where I'm at right now.
You're fine, Aspen. Do you want to take a break with us, or should we
yeah, I'll just breathe for a minute. The breath is absolutely the most perfect thing. And last night, I was awake at 2 and was having an anxiety attack, a really bad one. And it's so weird how those little parts play these tricks on you. It's like I had a part try to tell me that breath didn't work. It's like, oh no, that's just crazy stuff. But I didn't listen to it. So I stayed with the breath, and I actually did get into a good space. But I think the main reason I'm here is just trying to figure out what to listen to, and the stuff about all the parts is super helpful, because I can see how they're just having a real shit show with me right now. So I think that's all I'm going to share. I kind of didn't stay on task here because I was never really clear on it. I'm really tired today, but I'm really, really thankful to be here and to be part of this class. And I'm listening to everything. So
Thank you,
I'm
Aspen.
having a hard time right now. It's been
Yeah,
rough.
I really feel that. I really feel you. And I just wanna say that we're here, you know, and there is space inside.
And I know that,
Mm.
you know, I know the truth, and I know that it can't be touched by any of this other stuff that's going on. It's just hard to stay focused on that sometimes when there's so much of this
Absolutely.
crap coming at you,
Oh, of course it is,
you
Aspen.
know.
It's
So
it's virtually impossible not to get drawn in, like sucked into the world. You know, it's virtually impossible not to allow that movement, you know.
yeah,
And then we take the moments we can, right?
yeah. And the beauty of when I was speaking with Meredith is I realized sometimes I think I'm the only one that's going through this stuff. And you know, I realize other people are having very similar issues, but maybe different, but the same kind of things that they're trying to work through. So it's really nice to be here.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
say, Aspen, it would be an extraordinary conspiracy if you were the only one. Right? That would
That's
be epic, right?
epic.
In the most amazing ways. But it's just not true.
That's just another stupid story, you know. It's
Well,
just nothing.
let's say it's another story. You
It's
know,
another story.
it doesn't have to be stupid, but
Well, it's silly. It's silly. Let's say it's
it's
silly.
yeah, it's another story, you know, and
Yeah,
that's okay. It's okay.
yeah,
It's okay that we have these minds that do this.
yeah,
It's okay. This has to be a massive part of this course, right? That it's okay. Like that we have such complicated minds and relationships
Ah,
with our parts. It's okay, you know, and we're working through all together. We're working through all of this to find the space within where we are clarity, you know, but it takes time and patience
yeah,
and trust. You know, your journey is not wrong. Hmm.
yeah.
So I am very glad that you're here, Aspen, in
Thank you.
this container, and you're very welcome. All of your parts, of course, your very magnificent self as well.
Thank you.
I can promise you that I haven't lost sight of who you are. I know you
Yeah,
in that.
it's been kind of a rough time for sure.
I
I know I'm going to be okay. I know everything's going to be okay. I know I'm just having to move through this, but it's really, really hard. It's
yeah,
been I've been so challenged. I just, and I'll have a day where I feel like I'm really doing okay. I'm starting to get through it, and then just bam, something will slam me down again. And I'm just so raw, you know.
yeah,
I'm definitely feeling a lot. So, but
yeah.
thank you. I don't want to carry on. I want to give other people time, but I
Well, you know,
just thank you for being here and thank you for having this
yeah,
class. I kind of did it last minute. It was like some big stuff happened. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do Israel's class.
yeah.
I need to start working on something else. I got to
Good,
move forward. So, anyways, thank
good,
you.
good. Well, it's great that you're here, and thank you so much for sharing
Thank
so
you.
vulnerably. Like that's a gift for all of us in this group. Like what you've just done is you've allowed us through your vulnerability to all connect.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
am
you.
grateful for that.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful for you
Thank you.
so much.
Yeah. Hmm. Meredith.
Hi. I just want to say thank you to Aspen as well. I'm very grateful for her allowing me a space to be vulnerable with her as well. So I'm brand new to this. This is my first class or seminar of anything even similar. I've just opened myself up to some literature. I'm doing some self-work, and right now I'm in a place where I'm just drawn to figuring out myself spiritually. But I find myself, I'm so indecisive about anything from what clothes I should wear, what classes I need to take in school, what career path I need to go towards. And I'm trying to decipher what resonates truly with me and what was put in place out of survival, and I'm coming from a place of addiction. And so much of my identity of who I am or who I was, right now I'm very confused about that. I was so lost, and now as I'm trying to get that clarity of who I am, I'm seeing that a lot of the things that I identified with previously were just put in place out of perfectionism, out of fear of rejection, out of fear of being vulnerable, because within the atmosphere in the world that I was in during my addiction, I had to have my guard up at all times. And so now I'm having difficulty finding out what's authentic to me and what's true to myself. So my hope is through this course to be able to get in tune with that self a little bit better and form a communication and know how to listen and pick up on those signs.
Wow, thank you, Meredith. Thank you so much. I wanna take a moment just to honor your journey to here. That there's obviously been quite a path already to come to this. And I wanna honor the clarity that I already hear in you, right? That I can already feel. Like, and I think that's probably universal. I imagine all of us here could feel that there's clarity here within you in terms of your intention, like what you want. So that's really good to see and feel and hear. And yeah, I hope this course serves you well in the coming weeks. It's good to have you here. Thank you. Anyone else? Gonna check the time. Jesus.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Israel. I have a bit of a cold, but I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
So for me, the main topic I would like to receive guidance about is my own healing, and that's I was sharing with Brigitte that many times it feels like I'm wasting time and I'm not doing the right thing, and so that's one of the things I want to find ways to be at peace with and allow the process to continue and not not to get lost in that confusion. So that's the main topic. And it was funny because she had like a similar goal. And then I noticed that the process of looking for guidance, exactly what you described, it's the process itself. It's actually what I'm looking for. It's just by doing the process, I'm allowing the healing to happen. So it's basically it's like no question there. It's just like doing the process. And yeah, that was basically it. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus. There's such wisdom in this, and it's something that I've hit upon before as well. It's the very desire for guidance is our gateway towards the movement to come back to love.
Mm.
So the process of seeking for guidance, when we allow the process to be one of breath, relaxation, calming, realignment, letting go, and entering into that spaciousness of self, that is self-fulfilling. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but in a sense, the very process of guidance gives rise to the lack of need to receive guidance. And it's in that spaciousness of really being just full and whole, and there's nothing I need to get. Then the true guidance can come, because there's no part involved that's saying I need because I lack. And this is essentially the great beauty of guidance, is that it can bring us back to ourself in a way in which we are self-fulfilled. So often, like, what did I want to know guidance about? Money and relationship, right? Who can relate to those themes? You know, money and relationship, because it's through these things in the world that I somehow fulfill those parts that abide in lack. But it's coming into self, and there's nothing wrong with money and relationship, right, Chris? Nothing wrong with money. I love money and relationship. This is great, right? This is great. But where are we coming to it from? That this is so important. Like, where are we coming towards that from? And that's the real key, right? Because if we're coming to it from a place of fear, the world is always going to reflect back to us our base belief. It's going to reflect back the first layer of our creativity. And if the first layer of our creativity remains fearful, and we're moving in the world from the guidance, from fear, the world will reflect it back. It's like, oh, Israel's in lack. He's really dedicated to lack. That's what I'm going to show him, right? Because it's that foundational quality of the belief about the world that is showing up. That's the projection. The world is just a reflection. It holds no value in that sense. It can only reflect what we're truly bringing from within. So when we enter that spacious field of self and love, then the reflection will shift and change. When we start to move from that energy of the heart, from soul, from truth, everything changes. And the movement to come to guidance, and the movement to pause, breathe, relax, take our king time, slow it down, let the questions go, you know, relax into the field of yourself and enjoy that. And then say, you know, where do I go? Like, what do I do? What do I wear, Meredith? You know, like, what color do I do my nails today? Or like, what do I do with this stock? Do I sell it? Do I not? I know in the wholeness of myself, it doesn't matter, right? In the wholeness of myself, it doesn't matter. I can be in that flow of inspiration in which desire is saying, fuck, I want to be really wealthy, right? But if we're still being guided by those parts that are holding on to the need for that in order to fulfill a sense of lack from deep within, that's what will be reflected. And this is why guidance is so amazing, because it opens the door for us to step into the field of who we are and to move in the world from that place. It sounds grandiose because it is, right? Because it is. And there's nothing wrong with being grandiose in our desire, right? Is there, Chris? There's nothing wrong with being grandiose in our desire, right? There really isn't. Like, we can want it all, but where are we wanting from and where are we moving from? This is what's important. This is what will bring about the shift and the change in our experience that we truly want. And this is why desire is so massive, and guidance as well. Jesus, I see.
Yeah, Israel, is there a moment where we can be like in between the being completely driven by the lack and then being completely driven by self? Is there a moment like in between where you feel so empty that,
Hmm.
for example, I don't really feel desire for many things except my own healing, and that sometimes feels like my life is completely empty. Like I don't feel desire for anything else.
When you feel this emptiness, Jesus, does it feel desolate?
When I think about it, it does.
Right.
When I'm not thinking, it's okay.
Okay. It's interesting. And you very specifically said thinking when I asked you what the feeling was. And
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. And I'm curious what the feeling is. Is the feeling of that emptiness desolate? Or is it just the thinking about it? It's really important, actually.
It's the thinking, because the thinking is it's a judgment, and then I worry about what will happen. Like, oh, my life it's gonna be empty, and then I'm gonna be lost or unhappy or something. That starts the process of being worried. And but if I'm not thinking, I'm okay.
Okay. But it sounds like, and I may be wrong, but it sounds like there's a spaciousness that's present that is feared by certain parts.
Hmm.
Does that resonate? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely feared by many parts.
Right. Which completely makes sense, by the way, because parts are anchored in their identity into the world, into thinking, believing, doing, acting, getting. This is the foundation of parts' identity. So they feel very threatened often by spaciousness, by openness.
Yeah. Then there is this doubt of, well, life is supposed to be full, right? Like life is supposed to include relationships and purposeful work and many of those things, and I'm not experiencing those things right
I
now.
completely disagree with you 100%.
Mm.
All right. I completely disagree with you. What you're describing are things in the world.
Mm.
You're not describing life. Life is the exquisite experience of energy and light moving through the systems of the body. That's what life is. Life is this quiet exhilaration at just the simple knowingness of existence. It is the opening of the root and the opening of the crown, and it is the receptivity to the flow of the abundance of that which creation is. That's what life is. And it's self-fulfilling and self-fulfilled. It requires no relationship because it is pure relationship with everything, always. It requires no work because it is all work. It is the subject and the object and the completion of the relationship between the subject and the object. It is all of these things. It doesn't have to look a certain way in order to be life.
Mm.
I think that that's parts that are programmed to look upon the world and say, oh, this is what life looks like. right? I'm supposed to have a house and a car and a wife and a kid and a dog and a cat, right? This is what life is supposed to look like. And therefore I need to go about fulfilling that in order to be happy.
Mhm.
And actually, what I'm saying is let's fulfill happiness through opening the system to receive the flow of life, which is exquisite, and then let that express however it wants. And what we're doing here in this course is getting in touch with however it wants, right? That's what guidance is. Guidance is getting in touch with however the hell life wants to express itself and going, yeah, all right. Instead of going, yeah, I know what life is and I've got to make it look like this and I'm going to make it look like this because this is how things should be and that's how I'm going to get happiness. And it's just a fulfillment of our lack. And as I've said before, the fulfillment of lack in the world will be lack, right? Because the world's a mirror. You know, we're just looking at it's just going to reflect that. You know, you want abundance in your life, open to life, open to the flow of love that God is, right? Open your root, relax your crown, open, relax, breathe, get in touch with the self, see the parts for what they are. They're not who you are. Life is beautiful. And when you're really in touch with life, you can just sit there all day being in touch with life. You don't need to do anything and you're in love and bliss. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. Existence is beautiful. And life is existence. It's not doing or having or getting. And the great irony is when we let go of all that and life comes to live, well, then the fun can begin, right? Then we can know abundance. Ironically, when we've released all attachment to it and all need for it. Then we can know relationship because we're whole in ourselves. We don't need anyone to complete us, to fulfill us, to give us something. We don't need to get, which is always going to be met with defense eventually.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Well, thank you, Jesus, because that's very clarifying about what guidance is and isn't. Right, here we go. It's the first call. And we've come to the conclusion that guidance is getting in touch with the flow of what life truly is, and it's beautiful. And we're going to leave it there. Any questions? So if you're not a member of the WhatsApp group and you want to be on the WhatsApp group, you can contact me and give me your phone number and I'll put you on the WhatsApp group. We'll be communicating through that. We have a Facebook group as well. If you're not on the Facebook group already, I think everyone here is on the Facebook group, then we'll be communicating through there as well. So whatever medium you prefer, you can be on both, you can be on one, you can be on none. But the recordings will be going out via Facebook and WhatsApp. And I think that's it, really. Chris.
Yeah, thanks. Are there going to be any specific meditations or practices that we're going to be doing?
Thank you. Yes, there are. The meditations for this week are going to be the 4-stage process of breathing, grounding, relaxing, and unblending. Okay, and I'm going to write that out and I will put that in the WhatsApp and the Facebook group. And I might even record a little short meditation if people would find that helpful as well. So that's the invitation. It's only an invitation. This is not homework. This is not, I'm not going to be testing anyone. So you can draw from this course whatever you want, right? And one of the best ways to engage is with the process of practice. And for this first week, we're going to be looking simply at breathing, relaxing, grounding, and unblending, and really like creating that space within whereby we can begin to bear witness to the way that thought wants to come in. If thought is wanting to come in and pull us out, it's going to be coming from a part, and it's okay. And we can simply say, you know, thanks very much, but I'm doing something else right now. And I'm going to ground those thoughts, not the parts, leave the parts where they are, but I'm going to take those thoughts and I'm going to sink them down. Right? I'm going to sink all my thinking down. This is a beautiful process, right? The Taoists have been doing this for thousands of years, like grounding the mind. If you're visual and you want a visualization, you can take a sack, a box, whatever you want. You put your thoughts in it, you seal it up, you put a chain on the bottom with like a big old weight, like 10,000 Acme cartoon, 10,000 pound weight, whatever you want. And you let it sink down into the root and you let it go down into the deep earth. And you just watch your box or your sack of thoughts dissolve down into the fiery embrace of the mother, who's just going to go, thank you, beloved. I love you. You don't have to worry about those anymore. Right? So we ground the mind. We're making space. We're not going to get involved too much in processing. We're just going to be creating space. So let's take a deep breath together. Come back to the breath. So breathing through the nose if we can. We're breathing through the nose. We're going to relax the body and slow the breath down. Consciously slowing the breath down. We're breathing into the belly, sending that signal to the brain through the vagus nerve that we're safe. And you can say that to yourself as well. I'm safe. Everything's okay. I don't have to worry. I am held in love by forces beyond my comprehension. I can't even begin to imagine the power of the love that holds me right now and loves me. And we're going to sink the thoughts and the thinking of the mind down, bringing our awareness down, down, down through the body. If you want to trace a line through the body with your mind, you can. We're sinking everything down and we're inviting our thoughts and our thinking to come with it. Sinking our awareness down through the body, through the belly, down, 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 through the root and out into the space beneath the perineum, the space beneath the root. Breathing, sinking down, sinking the mind down. As thought arises, we can bless it with love and send it down. Whatever thought arises, we bless it with love and we send it down. This is not a space for thinking. It's a space for breathing and sinking our energy. Focusing our awareness on the deep root and breathing, letting thought wash away, down, down, down. And choosing to unblend, to step out of all parts. To return to space, spaciousness, presence. Stepping out, stepping out, stepping out, and stepping out. And stepping out again, and stepping out again. Breathing deeply into the belly, holding awareness beneath the root and also at the crown as we step out from our parts. The first step. If thought arises, we bless it, send it down to ground. Step out of the parts. Unblend, unwind, unmerge, step back. Step out, relax, breathe. We don't need to play in the world all the time. So I will edit this short section into its own little video that we can use to practice this week. And I'll write that out for us as well, so that it's available in both ways. Both of those things will be available within 24 hours on WhatsApp and in Facebook. Any questions in the meantime, bring them to Facebook, WhatsApp. Any experiences, reflections, please do the same. Complaints, criticisms as well. Feedback, all welcome. Bring it and free ourselves from any niggles. It's been a pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed our 2 hours together, and I very much look forward to hearing from you during the week, and also to joining with you for our second webcast next week, the agenda for which is on my other piece of paper, but it'll be more of the same and some more as well, around different types of guidance and what we might expect, but mostly making space for now. All right, if you want to unmute and say goodbye to everybody, please do so.
Bye, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.